happy to see Ambassador Power. I've known her for years. She's a woman of extraordinary integrity, commitment, and has lived a life of service to our nation on many fronts that no matter what your political bias is, it's laudatory, the kind of dedication she has had to the best interest of America and issues of human rights and human decency. I want to ask Ambassador Power really quickly about the issue of preventing future pandemics. Last week, it was reported that wildlife farms that were encouraged by the communist Chinese government to breed exotic animals were most likely the source of the COVID-19 pandemic. The senior senator from Texas and I, Senator Cornyn, introduced a bill called the Preventing Future Pandemics Act, which authorizes funding to USAID to work on reducing demand for consumption of wildlife from wildlife markets. Will you work with us to reduce the global demand for wildlife that could lead to another zoonotic disease outbreak? And will you work with us to invest in food systems and alternative sources of food protein to move food insecure communities away from the consumption of wildlife?
Yes, Senator, and I appreciate the integrated approach that you bring to this issue. The idea that environmental, agricultural, health, that these sectors can be separated, I think has been proven anachronistic, and if confirmed, part of my challenge at USAID is to bring about that integration and make sure that our experts are working together across what have been silos in the not so recent past.
Thank you. Ambassador, I know from a friendship with you spanning from years that you have an incredible and courageous empathy for humanitarian crises around this planet. And I know how seriously you take that. We are in the midst right now in 2021 with a record 235 million people who are in need of humanitarian assistance and protection. That is an increase of 40% since 2020. I'm really honored to be working with Senator Young. He and I co-chaired a task force at CSIS to look at the humanitarian access, which has been increasingly constrained as violent conflict has escalated. The NGO partners we worked with identified both international, in other words, the willful obstruction by governments, as we're seeing, frankly, in Ethiopia, and bureaucratic obstruction of humanitarian access. And the humanitarian groups, we really argued to Senator Young and I that in the complicated environments like Yemen and Syria, Somalia, Afghanistan, Northeast Nigeria, and elsewhere, compliance with some USAID policies related to potential material support to terrorist groups has made it nearly impossible to operate. And so in my final question to you, and respectful of the time of other senators, I just want to know, can you outline the steps that you're going to take to work internally at USAID and with colleagues at the State Department to try to streamline and improve the regulatory process itself so that humanitarian NGOs are really on a sound legal footing when carrying out humanitarian assistance that's funded by the United States? And will you work with us to find ways to ease some of the regulatory burdens on frontline humanitarian NGOs to make sure they're on sound legal footing and carrying out humanitarian assistance funded by the U.S.?
Thank you so much, and my gratitude to our partners working in those difficult environments, and my gratitude to USAID staff who do the same at great risk. I think part of the reason that you're seeing humanitarian access denied is a sense of impunity on the part of various actors, and it does create immense challenges for our partners on the ground. With regard to vetting and the challenges of complying with regulations and certification, I think, Senator, that's something absolutely I would love to sit down with you and talk through. I think we have to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to ensure that our assistance reaches our intended beneficiaries, given the kinds of actors that inhabit these conflict areas. At the same time, if there are efficiencies to be achieved, of course, we would strive to achieve them. So we're absolutely happy to sit down with you and talk that through, consistent, again, with following the law and the requirements that this body has put forward.
I look forward to that partnership. I yield, but I would like to just say I'm so grateful to the state of New Jersey for giving me the privilege of being a United States Senator. I will count it as one of the great honors of my experiences as Senator to vote for your confirmation on the Senate floor. You're an extraordinary human being that will do not just the United States proud, but the world proud with what I believe will be extraordinary efforts to make this planet more just for humanity. Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
Thank
for
you.
indulging.
Senator Barraza.